Welcome. Call this meeting to order. Welcome to the November 19th, 2024 Police Commission meeting. We have, I think, the largest attendance we've had this year, so we can celebrate that. And with that, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, although everybody loves how scintillating our meetings are, I think a lot of people are here today to celebrate for the recognition and award ceremony. And so with that, I will take a motion to suspend the agenda and adjust the agenda accordingly.
I move to suspend the agenda and move number one, the community policing facility item to the fore, and then after that, move the award and recognition ceremony up also.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So before we get into the recognition and award ceremony, we wanted to, as the commission, talk a little bit about the facility, community policing facility updates. And we think it's important for a number of reasons. There's been a lot in the community about where the progress of the community policing facility is going, and there's a few things we want to address. Just from a status update, we were supposed to have a public information session on November 7th, and that information session was canceled. The mayor plans to form a police station building committee. That sort of, there was some surprise to us certainly as a member of the working group. There's some concerns about the working group in terms of offering transparency and accountability. And I think the working group has done a tremendous job to offer transparency and accountability, to come to the council meetings with the updates in terms of the progress, to come meeting the needs of what the council has asked for in terms of producing a plan that's within budget and, taking into account other considerations by the council. But nevertheless, we're going to move forward, and we're going to continue to move forward with a public committee to continue to move the ball forward. Now, with these delays, we understand that some of these delays, some of the responses could make the members of the police department feel that, there's a misunderstanding in the community of the work of the police department. And if nothing else, we as the commission want to sit before you and tell you that we understand all the wonderful work you do. We understand that the facility, that a good working facility is critical to the work you do, that it's critical to a facility is critical for your health, for the health and wellness of the officers, for morale, for the health of our dispatchers that are so critical in any call that any resident is going to make for calls for service. We understand that your facility is critical for your training, and training has a direct relationship to the work everybody as officers are doing on the streets to respond to incidents, to help our community, to be the community policing facility that we so as a community strive for, and that the officers and the department carries out on a day-to-day basis. Most importantly, we understand that the facility is critical to conducting investigations, to completing police reports. Deputy Chief Maloney told us today that we're coming upon our 100th DUI arrest for this year. That is absolutely phenomenal and really deserves a round of applause. And what that is doing is keeping the streets safe for our community. But as everybody knows, and I work in prosecution, that once you make that arrest, you have to write that report. And you need a facility and a space in order to do that work so that it goes from arrest to successful prosecution. most importantly, you need a facility. A facility is critical for investigation and for efficient and effective arrest and prosecution of people who are committing crimes. And I guess as we sit here, we understand that, you know, some of the things that have taken place with regard to the facility have affected morale. And if nothing else, we'd like to say that we appreciate you. We as the commission appreciate you. We will continue to be zealous advocates for a new police facility. And it's not just for the police department, but it's for our community as a whole, because the department is working so hard for our community. And with that, I think it's a perfect segue in terms of your role as community, to keeping the community safe, to talk about why we're here for awards ceremony tonight and the recognition ceremony. Because,
if I can just add to what you said, you know, my background, as many of you know, is I was a public defender for 13 years. And I've worked in the legislature on criminal justice reform. So some may perceive my politics as such that I wouldn't be in favor of a new police facility, but it's completely not the case. You know, one of the ironies of the quality of our police department here is that you all are so good and do such a good job that the public doesn't know the work that you put in to make Portsmouth a safe place. They just perceive that Portsmouth is a safe place. They don't get how much work it takes on the part of the police department to do that. And to echo what Commissioner Coyle said, the entire commission is completely committed to making a new police facility happen. It's something that matters tremendously to us. So don't doubt that we are completely on your side, and we're going to do everything we can to get you this new police facility.
Thank you, Commissioner. So we're going to move on to the awards and recognition ceremony here, and this is for the all the fine work that led to the apprehension and arrest and prosecution of Kyle Henderson, who, as everybody knows, just for a little bit of background, he posted a video on Snapchat brandishing a gun in front of the high school. The schools it caused lockdown. It caused concerns for parents also a parent of a child in the school system. It caused significant concern. But for the effective, efficient, and hard work of the Portsmouth Police Department, along with other agencies, which led to the swift apprehension of Kyle Hendrickson and follow-up prosecution, the kids were all in school the next day. And I'll turn it over to Deputy Chief for your presentation.
All right, good evening, everyone. If I could have the following detectives and supervisor accompany me up here if you so wish. Detective Sergeant McCarthy, Detective Lucas, Officer Lynn Thomas, Detective Wittestrom, and Detective Potter. Unable to make it tonight, our Auxiliary Officer Michael Katsanis, and Detective Fredrickson is not here as well. But speaking on that, a little bit more detail as to the background as to why this award is being presented tonight. On April 12th, 2023, Detective Sergeant Kevin McCarthy received information from a partnering agency regarding a threat of a shooting at the Portsmouth High School. The threat included the photo posted on social media appearing to be taken outside of Portsmouth High School, showing a subject holding a firearm inside of a vehicle with the text, "I'ma shoot up at school." Detectives immediately began investigating the social media account linked to the threat, filing preservation orders and an emergency search warrant for user information. Attempts to contact the account holder, including the address checks and phone calls, were unsuccessful. To locate the suspect, detectives reached out to known family members and neighbors, attempted contact via social media without success. School resource officer Lynn Thomas assisted by retrieving surveillance footage from Portsmouth High School capturing the suspect's vehicle. Detectives identified the male passenger from the video and conducted an interview. He confirmed the suspect's identity and provided valuable information for the investigation. Meanwhile, serious discussions took place with school leadership concerning student safety as the suspect's location was still unknown. It was ultimately decided to close all Portsmouth schools the following day. A search warrant for the suspect's social media account revealed further details, including the identity of his girlfriend and information about his vehicle. Detectives identified a new residence in Portland, Maine, where the suspect and his girlfriend were allegedly living. When investigators from the Portsmouth Police Department arrived in Portland, in conjunction with Portland Police Department, the suspect and his girlfriend were not present. It was later discovered that they had rented a hotel room after learning that the police were looking for them both. It was also learned that the suspect had discarded the firearm shown in the photo near the hotel where they were staying. The suspect and his girlfriend returned to their apartment, where they were apprehended by the Portland Police Department in conjunction with our detectives. Interviews revealed that the suspect had tried to hide at the hotel and dispose of evidence when he learned that the police were trying to locate him. Additional items found in the suspect's vehicle included additional firearms, a bulletproof vest, a laser sight, and more ammunition. He claimed his social media post was intended as a joke. The suspect, Kyle Hendrickson, was held without bail, with the United States Attorney's Office in New Hampshire assuming responsibility for the investigation. In December of the prosecution. In December of 2023, Mr. Hendrickson pleaded guilty to charges of interstate threatening communication and possessing a firearm within a school zone. On May 14, 2024, he was sentenced to 31 months in federal prison, followed by parole, and was ordered to pay restitution. The Portsmouth Police Investigative Division acted swiftly, apprehending the suspect within 24 hours of receiving the threat, working around the clock. Efforts included executing search warrants, issuing preservation orders, collecting and preserving video evidence, conducting background checks, interviews, and on-site checks, with all done with professionalism and efficiency. The division coordinated effectively with local and federal partners, school administration, and the public. Demonstrating foresight, resources were deployed to the suspect's most likely location, resulting in a calculated and successful arrest without incident. Additionally, they recovered a fully functional firearm that had been discarded, preventing it from falling into the wrong hands. Their thorough and professional documentation ensured the U.S. Attorney's Office of New Hampshire could successfully prosecute the case. I want to commend the individuals standing before you for their exemplary efforts and unwavering dedication on this case. Their attention to detail, persistence, and thorough approach were critical in uncovering the facts and ensuring the case was handled with the highest level of professionalism. Their ability to meticulously gather, analyze, and document evidence demonstrates an exceptional commitment to justice and serves as a shining example of investigative excellence. So, congratulations to you all. These are lined up in the row they are right now. That'll be incredible, but I don't think they are. Thank you. Thank you. And again, we're just recognizing Detective Matt Fredrickson, Adam Kozlowski, and Mike Katsanis, who couldn't be here tonight as well. So all recipients of the award. So congratulations. Yeah, photo? Yeah. Photo? Is that the, you tell us where to go.
They'll never recognize it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. For all your work.
And the next award is for Officer Kevin Cardno, Officer Nick DiGitano, and Officer Megan McBride, who I think we're 3 for 3. We have them all here. If you would care to join me. All right. On June 25th of this year, Portsmouth Police Dispatch received a 911 call reporting a 63-year-old female in an apartment that was not breathing. Dispatch informed the responding officers that CPR was already in progress. Upon their arrival, Officer Nick DiGitano took over CPR from a family member, observing that the woman was not breathing, had no pulse, and had blue lips. Shortly thereafter, Officer Kevin Cardno arrived with an AED from his cruiser and applied the pads to the female and delivered an electric shock. Together, the officers continued CPR between shocks from the AED in an effort to revive her. While life-saving measures were underway, the woman's husband became extremely distressed. Officer Megan McBride positioned herself between the husband and her fellow officers to ensure their work was not interrupted. At one point, Officer McBride had to physically restrain the husband from entering the room where the life-saving measures were being undertaken. When the Portsmouth Fire Department arrived, they took over first aid care using advanced life-saving measures. Fire Captain Kenaway praised the officers on scene, stating they acted according to their training and did an excellent job. He also advised that the female had a strong pulse, although her breathing was still being assisted. She was transported to Portsmouth Regional Hospital, where as of June 28th, she was reported to be in stable condition in the intensive care unit. The officers standing before you exemplified the highest level of professionalism, drawing on their life-saving training while putting their own personal safety aside. In an incredibly stressful situation, they carried out their duties with exceptional skill and composure. I firmly believe that their actions were instrumental in saving this woman's life. Congratulations. And for Officer Cardno, present you with a life-saving bar. Your 10th one, I think? Congratulations. Nick, congratulations as well. I appreciate everyone who came to support the officers tonight. It's always a pleasure to know, recognize good work, and a lot of time it does go unnoticed, but these are the type of things that the officers do on a regular basis, so it's good to give them a little moment. Although they don't ask for it, they deserve it. So thank you.
All these people were not here for us. They were.
Guess not. Never mind.
You know, it does get pretty quiet pretty fast here, but picking back up, I just listening to all the work that went into the apprehension of Mr. Hendrickson reinforces exactly why we need a facility that will accommodate all the important work that the police department is conducting on a regular basis. Deputy Chief, when you were going through the detail of all the work that went, all the investigative work that took place, all the evidence gathering, communication and consulting and working in conjunction with other police departments, it emphasizes so much that we need a facility that is going to meet the needs of the officers to do this so much very critical work. Yeah. So, I guess, does anybody else have anything to add? All right, with that, I guess we'll go back to regularly scheduled programming. It has gotten very quiet in here very quickly, but with that, I will take a motion to accept the minutes from October 22nd.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. And that brings us to public comment. I don't see anyone for public comment. However, given that these meetings are posted, if after the fact you watch our meetings on YouTube and you want to ask a question, feel free to reach out to the commissioners at any point. We'd be happy to entertain questions and to get up with it.
Just to add, as a part of the discussion of the community policing facility and public comment, the commission can't say strongly enough how much we want the public, both those who are in support of a new police facility for whatever reason, those who are opposed to it, to contact us, contact the city council, members of the city council. It is really important that the residents of Portsmouth have a say in this. We understand that it's the expenditure of a lot of money, but it is important that the community be in support of it if we choose to do this. So I can't say strongly enough how much we want to hear from you and the public.
Thank you, Commissioner. Sure. Moving on to the facilities update. Deputy Chief, would you want to talk a little bit about restoration?
Yes, sure. The only remaining portion of the building that is yet to be remediated is a relatively small section in the dispatch center. But until we get up to more sufficient staffing levels, because in order to do that, the dispatchers will have to relocate out to the redundant dispatch center at Station 2 on Lafayette Road. So combining the fact that relocation will be necessary and the fact that we're still trending below our optimum staffing levels, we're holding off until that's complete, or at least we get a little bit more sure footing with our staffing before we relocate people for a relatively short period of time, but it'll be a relative inconvenience. So that's the only remediation that's left.
Okay. And the winter months are tricky with heat and sweating pipes and temperature and condensation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Then that brings us to community priorities. Did you want to take? I was just going to say, it's exciting to see that we have a body-worn camera grant on the agenda tonight, coming down the pipeline, and that's really going to help us pay for the body-worn cameras, which shall be rolling out in the not-too-distant future, so that's exciting.
Yeah, and I'll just add, on the body cams, some of the hardware is already starting to come in support of the body cams, including, we also did the combined bundle with the TASER 10s. The new TASERs are in. We don't have the training set for it. The training is not taking place yet, but we're tracking towards January, early next year, to roll out the training for the new TASERs. And with the Axon bundle in and of itself, we have the VR training program that comes with it. So we'll be able to start utilizing VR virtual reality training. So we'll be able to start accessing and having officers use that virtual reality training tool even before the implementation of the body cam. So we're excited to get that going.
That's great. All right, well, does anybody have anything else this time? No? All right, we're going to move on to, I guess, we'll move on to the chief's report. It is notable that Chief is not here tonight because he is collecting award, our Community Policing Award awarded to Portsmouth Police Department, and he is in Falmouth collecting that award. We're pleased to have you, Deputy Chief, but it is notable that his absence is due to the police department receiving an award and him accepting that award for a outstanding community policing.
And this was not, as I understand it, this was not an award that is a dime a dozen where, 100 police departments get a community policing award. This was a really notable distinguishing of the Portsmouth Police Department and its quality.
All right, on to grants.
Okay, the first grant is in the amount of $368,355 from the United States Department of Justice in support of a New Hampshire Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, which is headquartered out of Portsmouth PD.
I move to accept the $368,355 grant from the U.S. Department of Justice for the New Hampshire ICAC Task Force and to forward it to the City Council for their action.
Second.
And just a quick comment on that. ICAC is the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, and it's really important in terms of keeping the efforts the team goes to investigate child exploitation and crimes against children is substantial. So we're thrilled that the task force is headquartered in Portsmouth. And there's a lot of outreach that the team does even to the communities about meeting with the community and parents, talking about safe, teaching your kids safe behaviors with their phones and cell phones in an age of digital media is everywhere and social media. So, okay. Does anybody have any other comment? Okay. All those in favor of acceptance of the grant?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Then we have a next grant.
Yeah, that next grant is in the amount of $5,392.49 from the Bureau of Justice Assistance Patrick Leahy Bulletproof Vest Partnership. This grant helps to fund 50% of the cost associated with outfitting new officers and replacing old vests for veteran officers.
I move that we accept the grant, the $5,392.49 grant from the Bureau of Justice Assistance Patrick Leahy Bulletproof Vest Partnership, and to forward this to the City Council for their action.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And finally, the third grant, it's a,
Yep. And finally, in speaking of the TASER and Axon grant, a grant in the amount of $196,000 from the U.S. Department of Justice for the Portsmouth Police Department's implementation of body-worn camera program.
I move to accept the $196,000 grant from the U.S. Department of Justice for the Portsmouth Police Department's implementation of a body-worn cameras program and forward it to the City Council for their action.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I just want to take a moment with my not very good math, but looking at these just 3 donations, it's probably close to $500,000 in donations, which all the credit goes to Karen Senecal for largely applying for those grants and managing them, and makes it easy for us to sit here once a month and just read it, but there's a lot of work that goes behind it, so
Right.
we appreciate all that goes
And
into
that's
it.
over $500,000 for the police department.
Almost 600,000.
Thank you.
Right. Well, it's money that the taxpayers aren't incurring, right? What we're talking about is making efforts to find grant money and support so that the cost of doing business, which is substantial, again, all things to help transparency, accountability, keeping officer safety, community safety, and those are not, this is monies that don't get passed on to the taxpayers, so it's a good thing. On to the crime analyst report.
And next we have the crime analyst report. So the following statistics are from comparing January 1st of 2023 to October 31st of 2023 to that same time period of 2024. Overall calls for service, 2024 is at 33,428, which is down 11%. Arrests are up 3.52% to 764 from 738. DWI arrests were 69 in 2023 to 83 in 2024, and that is up over 20%. And as you mentioned previously, just this past weekend, in the short period of time that these stats were pushed out, we reached the 100 DWI mark for the year. That's not something to be proud of because we don't want that number to be trending high, but it does highlight the fact that distracted driving, impaired driving is a priority for us, and the officers are out there taking these distracted, impaired drivers off the road. So unfortunately, we're trending high, but we're also finding them and arresting them. Total reports taken down 5.52% to 1,984 police reports. Reportable motor vehicle crashes trending just about the same, 432 compared to 440 last year. Motor vehicle stops are at 6,235 compared to 6,796 last year. Involuntary emergency admissions are up 23% to 48 from 39 last year. Mental health related calls are down almost 20%, 148 from 183. And juvenile matter calls also down almost 20%, 115 from 143.
A question for you, Deputy Chief. The IEAs are up. Do you know, I know there's been litigation surrounding the holding IEA individuals in the emergency rooms of hospitals around the state because there are not enough beds up at the state hospital. Do you know if as this number increases, whether that's changing or whether there's still people, individuals who have been or are about to be IEA'd, just having to be held in the emergency department at Portsmouth Hospital?
Yeah, I could say from experience here, obviously we have a behavioral health facility here at Portsmouth Regional Hospital, but there, in large part, when an IEA is arrested, there is I believe it's 72 hours. It was a minimum, a maximum amount of time that they can be held pending a further evaluation, that they can also be released within that 72 hours. For the individuals that it's decided that they are to receive extended care and not be released, there is that significant wait for beds to be transferred to the state hospital. Portsmouth Regional Hospital has a fairly robust system in order to not have them take emergency room space. However, I will say they are also backed up, and we have had instances of mental health-related patients at the hospital in an emergency room, or they call it the pod holding area of Portsmouth Regional Hospital for an extended period of time.
Hopefully, that's a matter that will, in this session of the legislature, will be resolved in a more constructive fashion.
Yeah, and it's certainly for public safety and the hospital staff themselves, it's a drain on their resources. It's a drain on security at the hospital because a lot of these individuals have behavioral issues. Sometimes they can be violent. They can overwhelm the security staff at the hospital, and they end up calling us. So there's been a number of occasions where we've had to respond out to the hospital to deal with a violent or combative IEA.
And so a drain not only on the hospital, but on the police
Sure.
department.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the other thing I noted was just what we're seeing with the trending and reduction in mental health calls, juvenile matters, and even increase in IEAs. You know, I think a reflection somewhat of I'd submit, the social worker involvement, having a social worker that can do some follow-up services probably helps reduce the mental health calls because the wraparound services are happening. And just with respect to the DWI arrests that we've had 100, it just, every time that one person is arrested for DUI, it's taking someone who is impaired off this from driving and on the streets. And so it's really important for the safety of everyone.
Yeah, and just on that, as we approach Thanksgiving and the holidays, Captain Nick Small from Patrol Division, who runs our STEP grants, pushed out that we'll be having a DWI saturation patrol on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving next week. And that's in partnership with New Hampshire State Police and other surrounding police departments. As we remember, we had a tragic fatal accident. This will be 3 years ago, I believe, this Thanksgiving Eve that occurred in Portsmouth. That was a preventable fatality that changed a lot of lives that night. And we have at least 4 dedicated patrols in addition to our regular patrols that'll be working anywhere between the hours of 5 p.m. and 3 a.m. in Portsmouth that are strictly targeting impaired drivers. And that's not counting the additional troopers surrounding Portsmouth. So there will be a significant law enforcement presence out the Wednesday before Thanksgiving and continuing through the holidays as well.
I will point out that the individual who was the driver of the SUV in that Thanksgiving accident was, I think, yesterday sentenced to 6 years in the New Hampshire State Prison.
Multiple lives, so many lives changed forever. Moving on to our monthly traffic statistics.
Yeah, and just looking at October, 713 total motor vehicle stops, 27 summonses, and 53 reportable motor vehicle crashes, which is up 15 from last month.
There's a busy October. The nice weather, I think, is getting more people out and about. All right. Karen, take it away.
This will be short.
That's okay.
We're still tracking about 2%, a little over 2% below the cap, which is great for November. So we're still doing well there. Again, we are still in prep for the FY26 budget, setting up templates and getting everything there ready for the capital plan with the acceptance of the body cam grant. I'll sit with the city finance department because it's going to change our slide for that and what's going to be required in FY26, 27, 28. I have to meet with Axon and our grant manager to see how they're going to distribute those funds and over the what years. And then financially, I had a meeting with Nathan Looney, who's the deputy city manager for finance and administration, in reference to their new financial software. It was a great meeting. Finance Plus is very limited in reference to how we can use it. Like, the ideal is to have all your data centralized and all your operations decentralized. And it had, it's been difficult sometimes in reference to Finance Plus, but the new software that they're looking at will actually help the people actually doing everything on the ground in the different departments. So hopefully when that comes in, we'll be able to do projections and whatnot much easier and so forth. In reference to the strategic plan, still working to have that in December before we get full tilt on the budget process. On the grants, we're still awaiting the grant from Rockingham County. That was for the training, for department-wide training. And then we have another grant for CERT that's due on December 2nd, so we have to get that in. And then we'll wait on that for 11,000. So more grants.
And that county one was the JAG grant, is that correct?
The JAG grant,
Yeah.
that's for the training, the department-wide
Right.
training that we wanted to do for 11,000. Well, they're both about 11,000. So those are still pending.
Great. Okay, it looks like we have some patrol updates as well as court office reports. Does anybody, any other new business, old business to? All right, well, our next scheduled meeting is December 17th, 2024. Please check the calendar on the municipal city website for any changes. Thanksgiving is just around the corner, so we wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving, but also please be safe. Deputy Chief was talking about the tragic accident 2 years ago, and we cannot, and that there are going to be increased patrols on Wednesday, but also throughout the course of Thanksgiving. Please make responsible decisions, get an Uber, call a friend, whatever you need to do. And we wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving, and look forward to tuning in December. Thank you. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.